A few months ago, I started building a complete ESP32 security system with face recognition, RFID access, radar detection, and a full web dashboard. At first, everything worked perfectly, but as the project grew, I hit a problem that most people ignore. Where do you store hundreds of users? Where do you save access logs? Where do you keep Wi-Fi credentials, web files, and dynamic records? In a real system, data cannot be fixed inside the code. You should be able to add a new RFID card, delete an old user, update access permissions, and save logs anytime without uploading the firmware again. And if the power goes off, the system should remember everything. Yes, ESP32 already has internal flash, but your firmware, OTA updates, web dashboard, and user data all share the same limited space. And if you keep writing logs again and again, you also increase flash wear over time. So in this video, I'll show you how to use an external SPI flash memory chip with ESP32 to store users, logs, settings, and web files in a much cleaner and scalable way. This is the Winbond 25Q128. It's tiny, but it packs 16 megabytes of storage. In the world of ESP32, that is a massive amount of room. Think of it like plugging a miniature SSD into your microcontroller. It communicates over SPI. Before wiring, remember one important thing. This small dot on the IC marks pin 1, so always check the direction of the chip carefully before connecting power. Also, this chip works on 3.3 volts only. Do not connect it directly to 5 volts. First, connect pin 8, which is VCC, to the 3.3 volt pin of the ESP32. Then connect pin 4, which is GND, to the GND pin of the ESP32. Now connect pin 1, which is the CS pin, to GPIO21 of the ESP32. And to keep the chip stable, connect this same pin 1 to a 10K resistor and the other side of the resistor to 3.3 volt. Next, connect pin 2, which is MISO, or data out, to GPIO39. Then connect pin 3, which is write protect, to a 10K resistor, and connect the other side of the resistor to 3.3 volt. This keeps write protection disabled, so we can write data to the flash memory. After that, connect pin 5, which is MOSI, or data in, to GPIO36. Then connect pin 6, which is the clock pin, to GPIO37. Now connect pin 7, which is hold, to another 10K resistor, and connect the other side of the resistor to 3.3 volt. This keeps the chip active and prevents it from accidentally pausing communication. Finally, add a 0.1 microfarad ceramic capacitor, usually marked as 104, between VCC and ground. Connect one side of the capacitor to pin 8 and the other side to pin 4. This capacitor is very important because it filters noise and keeps the flash chip stable during read and write operations. Now let's move to the software side. To understand how this Winbond flash storage works, we will open our existing FM225 facial recognition project. If you're new to this channel, I have already made a complete tutorial on Agentic coding in VS Code with PlatformIO, and I also uploaded the full FM225 facial recognition project in the previous video. Links for both videos are available in the description. After opening the project, open your Codex Agentic Coding Assistant and give it this prompt. Add support for the Winbond 25Q128 SPI flash chip in this project. The chip is connected as follows: CS to GPIO21, SCK to GPIO36, MISO to GPIO39, and MOSI to GPIO35. Create a separate Winbond flash module or file for initialization, read, write, erase, and storage testing, and integrate it cleanly into the existing project. Now the Winbond IC has been added to our existing project, and as you can see in the File Explorer, a new file named winbond.cpp has been created. Now we will give Codex the next prompt. Refactor this project to keep the code clean and manageable. Move all web server-related code from main.cpp into a separate file named web.cpp with a matching header file if needed. Also create a separate configuration file, such as config.h, and place all pin definitions and module configuration values there, including the Winbond SPI pins and other connected modules. Keep main.cpp clean and only use it for initialization and high-level program flow. This is important because as the project grows, managing everything inside one file becomes difficult. By separating the web server code, Winbond code, and pin configuration, the project becomes much easier to update, debug, and expand later. Now, let's build and upload the firmware. First, open the VS Code terminal and run this command, po run. This will compile the complete project. If everything is correct, the build should complete successfully. After that, upload the firmware to the ESP32 by running po run-upload. Once the upload is complete, open the serial monitor. Here, you can see that the ESP32 has started successfully and the Winbond flash chip is detected. Now, let's test it from the web dashboard. Connect your PC Wi-Fi to the ESP32 access point. After connecting, open your browser and go to 192.168.4.1. This will open our ESP32 web server. And now, inside the web server logs, you can clearly see that the Winbond IC has been detected successfully. This confirms that our wiring, firmware, and SPI communication are working properly. Now you can see the Winbond IC is successfully detected. Next, we will move to the next phase. In our VS Code Codex agent, we will give this prompt. Add Winbond flash storage capacity and usage details to the project and display them clearly in the web interface. Show total storage, used storage, free storage, and detection status. Also add an option to refresh or update the stored web files when needed. One important thing to understand here. After uploading the firmware, you may still see the old web interface. This is because the web files stored inside the Winbond IC are not updated automatically. So we need to manually seed the updated web files into the Winbond flash. Open the browser and enter this URL exactly, http://esp32-ip/API/storage command=seed web. For example, if you are connected to the ESP32 access point, you can use http://192.168.4.1/API/storage command=seed web. This command will copy the updated web files into the Winbond flash memory. After that, refresh the web dashboard. Now you can see the Winbond storage details showing on the interface. Codex has also added a seed web button inside the dashboard, so next time when we update the web files, we can simply press this button instead of manually typing the URL. Now, we will give another prompt to Codex. Add RFID card management for the RDM6300 module. Allow new RFID cards to be added from the web interface and save them permanently in the Winbond flash storage. Also add options to display all saved cards in a table, delete a single card using a delete button in front of each card, and delete all saved cards if needed. Keep the RFID storage separate and make sure the saved cards can be used later for access control. After Codex finishes the code, build and upload the firmware again. Once the upload is complete, refresh the web server. But here, you may notice that the new RFID options are still not showing. Why? Because the firmware is updated, but the web files stored inside the Winbond flash are still old. So now, click on the Seed Web button. After that, refresh the browser again. And here we go. The interface is now updated. Now we can dynamically add RFID cards, save them permanently inside the Winbond flash, display all saved cards in a table, and delete any card directly from the web dashboard. The main purpose of this video was to show how external storage works with ESP32 and how we can use a Winbond flash chip to store real project data like web files, RFID cards, settings, users, and logs. In our upcoming projects, we will use this external storage to save a lot more data and make our ESP32 projects more powerful and professional. That's it for today. If you have not subscribed yet, please do this favor. It really helps and motivates me to build more projects like this. I'll be back soon with another exciting project. Stay tuned and see you in the next video.